How can we deal with the damage of hate speech and disinformation in social media? When we have to intervene, how can we protect ourselves? Who is responsible? And who else should intervene to stop these harmful discourses? Do we have real solutions? In this video, we'll explore some ways to deal with repercussions and symptoms of social media, such as disinformation, misinformation, and haters. From my point of view, there are many things we can do to protect ourselves and society from harmful expressions. However, these measures may not be permanent. Most of them are just palliative interventions to reduce the effects of this phenomena. Social media is the most efficient tool for conveying and spreading information, but it's also a dangerous path to spreading disinformation and hate speech. It is important to understand the origins of the problem and make an appropriate diagnosis of the situation before intervening. So, let me review some historical facts before discussing social media. From antique societies, fake news and hate speech has existed. In the Roman Empire, one old motto was divide et impera, divide and conquer, which means building an empire by splitting the population. This kind of power sows confusion in the population, brainwashing, or chaos. You can destroy your enemy by confusing them and taking advantage. This could be seen even in some wars, such as the Trojan Horse or the Great War II. It's important to explain the differences between misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is an intentional lack of truth in facts or knowledge. It could be harmful or not. Disinformation is the deliberate attempt to manipulate or confuse people by delivering false information. There are many ways to combat hate speech and fake news. I want to distinguish two different categories, internal and external. The first one is a set of interventions that could be oriented towards education rather than prohibition on speech. The main idea is to develop common sense and skills for assessing credibility. Media literacy in education involves developing critical thinking and active inquiry. The idea is to understand that all texts are people's construction with some purpose. But I would like to take this to a broad perspective, education and ethics in general, by encouraging and developing an ethical understanding. Re-educate about the meaning of liberty. Sartre says that freedom does not come without responsibility. Paradoxically, we are prisoners of our own liberty. Number two, putting emotions behind reasoning. The role of emotion is crucial. The idea is to come back to logical reasoning, detaining the spread of misuse of social media by identifying that we are touched by an emotion. 3. Empowering people and the community with strategies for detecting information disorders. Check information and do not trust it immediately, not adopting a reactive response such as replying to messages or spreading incorrect data. Digital detective is a good word in this sense, exploring the sources of and releasing naiveness. Contreras states that the same social media users act as a curtain, blocking or banning haters. The author calls this a horizontal censor. Among external measures, we can find technologies for platforms and government measures. Governments should intervene only if there is extreme risk or threats. In order to set explicit limits, China in 2013 created a regulatory legislation. A person could be sentenced to 7 years of imprisonment for posting and spreading unverified information with more than 5,000 followers. Second, reduce anonymity by encouraging identification. Platforms should ensure who is speaking, creating a commitment with a website or app and making the speaker responsible for their opinions. There is a lack of control, especially inspired by the individualism in Western societies. In social media, everything is permitted, like in the Far West. Setting guidelines and defining responsibility decrease disinformation, anonymity, and transgression. Durkheim calls enemy the absence of regulation or norms toward an increase of chaotic ambience. Enemy promotes a way to hide and shoot from a comfortable position and not be seen. Guidelines should be explicit and transparent. 3. Responsibility for platforms. Whether flagging illegal content or designing assessment tools when something is going wrong. There are many apps, such as Fib, that can investigate sources. They should review and evaluate the veracity of the information or be responsible in the same manner as the person who is expressing harmfully. 4. Developing AI to block harmful content. Technology to screen words could be helpful, improving AI interventions to recognize when hate speech is explicit. 5. Improving algorithms. They generate more gaps between approaches. In conclusion, fake news and haters are not new phenomena. They have happened for years but in different media. The new element is the communication channel, the internet, which is expressed through a powerful spread. There are many different ways to deal with the harms of disinformation and hate speech. The most important are media literacy education and promoting critical thinking to detect any abnormal use of free speech. AI and other measures, such as platform owners' responsibility, are also fundamental ways to limit fake news and harmful speech. I'd like to add some final comment. The main idea is promoting a healthy relationship with technology in general, and an ethical understanding of freedom should increase the quality of free speech, detaching from bad influence and toxicity in general. Donald Winnicott said something interesting related to the process of winning. If we tolerate the lack of constant pleasure coming from the breast, we can accept frustration and void. We can also have a healthy relationship instead of an addictive behavior. We live in a society that opposes letting go. This is not only about social media, it's about human nature. Once, Einstein and Freud shared some letters about a great war. Why do people fight? The answer was discovering a psychological factor of hate and aggressive instinct. The Freudian concept of death drive. Everyone has the unconscious need to return to a state before life, such as death. This is thanatos. To sabotage and harm others, or sometimes ourselves, like self-damage, suicidal behavior, drug use, etc.